Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set. And I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. A lot of news covered, and let's jump right in. In an effort to promise citizenship to hundreds of thousands of illegals before this year's election, the White House announced yesterday the Biden administration will, in the coming months, allow certain spouses of U.S. citizens without legal status to apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship. The move would affect upwards of 500,000 immigrants, according to senior administration officials. We have the details for you. He finally admitted it. Dr. Anthony Fauci, a top advisor to presidential administrations during the COVID-19 pandemic, reversed course in an interview yesterday and agreed that shutting down schools for more than a year due to the virus was a mistake, while also arguing the initial decision to close classrooms was the correct one. There was a medical emergency at yesterday's White House press briefing. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stopped in mid-sentence as a reporter in the middle of a question rushed down from the podium to assist after a person declared, quote, "We have an emergency." It appears someone had passed out, possibly from the extreme heat being experienced in the nation's capital, like other parts of the country. South Carolina's primary elections are not over, with 13 state house and congressional runoffs scheduled for next Tuesday, June the 25th. Early voting starts today at 8:30. One of the races getting most of the attention is the 3rd congressional district runoff between political newcomer Sherry Biggs and Pastor Mark Burns. There was a televised debate last night. We have some of the highlights of that for you today, and it got heated a few times.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So let's start with Joe Biden's taking an expansive election year step to offer relief to potentially hundreds of thousands of illegals, aiming to balance his own aggressive crackdown on the border earlier this month that enraged advocates and many Democrat lawmakers as well. The White House announced yesterday the Biden administration will, in the coming months, allow certain spouses of U.S. citizens who do not have legal status to apply for permanent residency that could eventually lead to citizenship. To qualify, an immigrant must have lived in the United States for 10 years as of Monday and be married to a U.S. citizen. If a qualifying immigrant's application is approved, he or she would have 3 years to apply for a green card and receive a temporary work permit and be shielded from deportation in the meantime. About 50,000 non-citizen children with a parent who is married to a U.S. citizen could also potentially qualify for the same process, according to a senior administration official who briefed reporters on the proposal on condition of anonymity. Wonder why they want to be anonymous. They don't want to just come right out and tell media what this is all about, because they know they'd lose their jobs, because they know it's not right. There's no requirement on how long the couple must have been married. Key there. And no one becomes eligible after Monday. That means immigrants who reach that 10-year mark anytime after June 17th, 2024, will not qualify for the program, according to the officials. Senior administration officials said they anticipate the process will be open for applications by the end of this summer, and fees to apply have yet to be determined. I can guarantee you they won't be very expensive, because Biden wants to use this right now as a campaign issue, but to this is the carrot, dangling it out in front of people, and it's a wink saying, hey, come on over, we'll take good care of you. Biden spoke about his plan yesterday afternoon at the White House, which also marked the 12th anniversary of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, a popular Obama-era directive that offered deportation protections and temporary work permits for young immigrants who lack legal status. White House officials privately encouraged Democrats in the House, which is in recess this week, to travel back to Washington to attend the big announcement. The president also announced new regulations that will allow certain DACA beneficiaries and other young immigrants to more easily qualify for long-established work visas. That would allow qualifying immigrants to have protection that is sturdier than the work permits offered by DACA, which is currently facing legal challenges and is no longer taking new applications. The power that Biden is evoking with his announcement yesterday for spouses is not a novel one, according to Fox News. The policy would expand on authority used by Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama to allow parole in place for family members of military members, said Andrea Flores, a former policy advisor in the Obama and Biden administrations, who is now vice president of FWD.US, an immigration advocacy organization. Now, the parole in place process allows qualifying immigrants to get on the path to U.S. permanent residency without leaving the country, removing a common barrier for those without legal status but married to Americans. Flores said it fulfills President Biden's day one promise to protect undocumented immigrants and their American families. And boy, we want to protect those day one promises that he made, don't we? Yesterday's announcements comes 2 weeks after Biden unveiled a sweeping crackdown at the U.S.-Mexico border that effectively halted asylum claims for those arriving between officially designated ports of entry. Immigrants' rights groups have sued the Biden administration over that directive, which a senior administration official said had led to fewer border encounters between ports. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that just 2 weeks ago, Biden seemed to be taking steps to stop the flow of illegals, but yet yesterday took a step that would allow hundreds of thousands of illegals who are already here to stay here. It's a form of amnesty. As you can imagine, Republicans push back. House Speaker Mike Johnson is accusing Biden of trying to play both sides with his new immigration plan. That's exactly what he's doing. 2 weeks ago, he was acting tough, like, we're going to stop this. We're going to stop the flow. We're going to stop the bleeding here. And now he's offering to let, rather than deport some of the ones who are here who shouldn't be here, offering a path to citizenship to them. Speaker Johnson said just 2 weeks ago, the president pretended to crack down on the open border catastrophe by engaging an election year border charade. Now he's trying to play both sides and is granting amnesty to hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens. The president may think our homeland security is some kind of game that he can try to use for political points, but Americans know this amnesty plan will only incentivize more illegal immigration and endanger Americans. And that's exactly what Joe Biden did yesterday. He waved a flag of invitation for more to get here, to come on over. You better hurry because the door is closing pretty soon. And if you want to take advantage of this, you need to get over here quickly. Johnson said, I fully expect this order, which is manifestly contrary to the Immigration and Naturalization Act, to be challenged and struck down in the courts. And I suspect it will be too. But think about all of the time and the money that will be wasted in the process. Something should be done to a president. I don't care what party you're in, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. These executive orders have gone too far with presidents. They should not be allowed to do this type of thing, knowing they're going to be challenged, knowing it's probably going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, on both sides. And your tax money, my tax money, will be used to try to defend it in court when we don't even agree with it, when we don't think it's the right thing to do. The Trump campaign quickly condemned Joe Biden too. Caroline Leavitt, National Press Secretary, said Biden only cares about one thing, power. And that's why he's giving mass amnesty and citizenship to hundreds of thousands of illegals who he knows will ultimately vote for him and the open border Democrat Party. And she's right. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add, and I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD weight loss and nutritionist. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. Well, I heard something yesterday that I thought I would never hear. Dr. Anthony Fauci, of course, the top advisor to various presidential administrations over decades, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, became a household name in his daily briefings, reversed course yesterday during an interview where he agreed that shutting down schools for more than a year due to the virus was a mistake. And he had a hard time getting that word to come out of his mouth. Mistake. Mistake is not a word that he's accustomed to. He was also arguing, though, that the initial decision to close classrooms was the right decision. He just believes that keeping schools closed as long as they were was the mistake. Appearing on CBS Morning with co-host Tony Dockapil, while talking about his new memoir, of course, he's hawking his book, On Call, A Doctor's Journey in Public Service. Fauci pushed back on the idea that closing schools was a mistake, but agreed that the length of time that the schools were closed was a mistake, and he promised this would never happen again.
The school closures,
right,
which did enormous harm to kids on multiple levels and didn't seem to save lives. And I wonder, can we say today that that is a mistake,
no,
the closures?
I think what was not a mistake was the actual closure, because when we had to shut down that 15-day to flatten the curve, we were in a tsunami of cases. Right here in New York, you had freezer trucks in front of Elmhurst Hospital.
I remember the hospital outside my house, but I'm not talking about the initial.
No.
I'm not talking about the initial. I'm talking about the depth.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
And the issue is shutting down everything immediately, and we didn't shut it down completely, but essentially major social distancing in even schools was the right thing. How long you kept it was the problem, because there was a disparity throughout the country. If you go back and look at the YouTube, I kept on saying, close the bars, open the schools as quickly and as safely as you possibly can. But initially, to close it down was correct.
I'm not talking about initially.
Keeping it for a year was not a good idea.
So that was a mistake in retrospect. We will not repeat it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, I have to take exception to one thing there. He talked about how he repeatedly encouraged close the bars, open the schools. Does anyone remember Dr. Fauci really pushing that? I know that he said it. I did a quick search, and there are instances where he said it. But do you think he really pushed it? Maybe I'm missing something here, but really, does anyone listening to my voice today remember Dr. Anthony Fauci repeatedly and just insisting that we close the bars and open the schools? Maybe you did. If you can find it, please send me a link. You can text it to me. You can email it to me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Fauci, 83 years old, has previously stood by the recommendation that force children out of classrooms and into remote learning alternatives, both in sworn congressional testimony as members of Congress have held his feet to the fire. Not strongly enough, but they have. And remarks to the press during his time in office and since leaving office. During the summer of 2020, we all remember that time, the uncertainty that we all felt. This was something new to all of us. We had not experienced this in our generation. Many schools were considering reopening. Fauci butted heads with former President Donald Trump, touting Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines that force closures based on spread in the broader community. In a post that Trump posted on what was Twitter at the time, July 8th, 2020, he wrote, "I disagree with CDC.gov on their very tough and expensive guidelines for opening schools. While they want them open, they are asking schools to do very impractical things. I will be meeting with them!" Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Now, this is what I remember. And you got to know that if Anthony Fauci had really wanted the schools to reopen, he could have handled this and it would have been done, because unfortunately during that period of time in our nation's history, people were listening to Anthony Fauci. Healthcare agencies and states all around the country were saying, well, if Dr. Fauci says it must be correct. And so he had a lot of influence. So this whole idea now that he's pushing, trying to sell books, that he was encouraging close the bars, open the schools, I don't exactly remember it that way. Fauci said that during August of 2020, warning at another point of an insidious increase in cases as school children prepared to return to school that year. He said, there may be some areas where the level of virus is so high that it would not be prudent to bring children back to school. At the time, asked by PBS NewsHour host Judy Woodruff the same month whether many months of virtual learning would be the norm, Fauci answered, in some places, Judy, that may be the case. Basically saying, yes, there may be virtual learning. And we know now that there were some areas of the country that virtual learning took place for almost 2 years, in some cases over 2 years. And it affected those kids forever. Some of those kids will never catch up with what they lost during those 2 years. Look, there's a lot of things that we'll never get back what we lost during that time, all because of Fauci and his influence. When some schools did allow students and teachers back in September 2020, fewer than 1% showed cases of COVID-19, according to Brown University's National COVID-19 School Response Data Dashboard. We all knew with some of this data then that kids just were not being affected by COVID, but yet we kept them home anyway. Anthony Fauci knew this, and he didn't push back. He didn't encourage. He didn't insist, which I guarantee you, if he had insisted that schools reopen, we would not have had the issues that we had. A lot of schools around the country, as they blindly listened to him when they closed the schools, they would have listened to him when he said, let's reopen. In January 2021, a CDC study showed little evidence that schools have contributed meaningfully to increased community transmission. But following a pressure campaign from powerful teachers' unions against the Biden administration, classrooms would mostly remain closed until the following school year. They listened to the teachers' unions rather than the health officials. And that's what we saw so much of back then. Today is the first day of early voting for next week's June 25th runoff election for many primaries. One of the races getting a lot of attention is South Carolina's 3rd Congressional District. There was a debate last night. We have the highlights coming up next. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. South Carolina's primary elections are not over yet, with 13 state house and a congressional runoff scheduled for June 25th, next Tuesday. Early voting begins today. Polls will open at 8:30 a.m. The runoffs will decide who wins contest in the 3rd Congressional District, 7 seats in the state Senate, 4 in the state House, in some races where the candidates did not get the needed 50% plus. If you're a registered voter in any of these districts, and let me encourage you to go to scvotes.gov to see if, in fact, you have runoff elections in your area so that you can either early vote. Early voting will take place through Friday. And then, of course, next Tuesday is the election. You can participate in the runoff regardless of whether you voted in the June 11th primary. But if you haven't already registered to vote, it's too late. You're out of luck. That deadline was the same as for the primary, and it expired a month ago. Just as in the primary, voters can cast a ballot by mail or early in person, but the window for both options is compressed. In fact, you've already missed the deadline for requesting a mail-in ballot. So early voting starting today is your option, or just vote on Election Day next Tuesday, which is what I always do. So there's just something about voting on the actual day of the election that is special for me, is what I want to do. Again, early voting starts today and goes through June 21st. Some counties may use different or fewer early voting locations, so it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to vote where you typically vote at your precinct. Some counties may only have 1 or 2 or 3 locations. You can always vote at the county election office. Most counties have some additional locations open as well. But again, go to scvotes.gov to find out for sure, or go to your local county voter registration website as well. The Republican race for the U.S. Congressional District 3 nomination is part of the runoffs, and it's the race that's getting a lot of attention. It's kind of interesting because in the June 11th primary, all the attention was on the 4th Congressional District between William Timmons and Adam Morgan. And as you know, Congressman William Timmons won re-election or won the primary. He's expected to win in November as well. But you had 7 candidates running in the 3rd Congressional District. And they crisscross that congressional district. It's like 11 counties. It's a large geographic area from the corner of South Carolina and North Carolina, Oconee County, down through Pickens, Anderson, Lawrence, and I don't know all the counties. I probably should have those in front of me. But 11 counties, I do know that, even down to Edgeville. It's a huge area. And these 7 candidates made their way all around that congressional district. And now we're down to 2. Air National Guard Lieutenant Colonel Sherry Biggs and Pastor Mark Burns. They came out on top of the crowded field of the 7 GOP candidates during the initial primary. Biggs and Burns, of course, vying to replace Representative Jeff Duncan, who is not seeking re-election. If you voted in last week's primary, you can vote in the runoff for whichever party you've already voted in. So, for example, if you voted in the Republican primary, you can vote again in the Republican primary. If you voted in the Democrat primary, you can vote in the Democrat primary, but you cannot cross over. So this idea that Democrats are going to be voting for, and the accusation is that Democrats are going to be voting for Sherry Biggs. Democrats cannot vote in the Republican primary if they voted in the Democrat primary on June the 11th. If you did not vote in either primaries, then you can vote in either one that you want. The winner of the runoff will face Democrat Byron. This is in the 3rd Congressional District. Will face Brian Best and Alliance Party candidate Mike Bedenbaugh in November's general election. So last night, local Fox affiliate televised a debate between the two candidates. And you'll be hearing more of these as the candidates make the rounds on all the local talk radio shows, and anybody who will give them an audience, they're there. Last night, it just happened to be Fox Carolina. You may have watched the Fox Carolina debate that I co-moderated with Justin Doherty between William Timmons and Adam Morgan a few weeks back. In the opening question, Justin Doherty asked Ms. Biggs about her history in the state of Mississippi and the home that she still owns in that state. Here's the question.
You are running to represent the people of District 3 here in South Carolina, but you are from Mississippi. You serve in the Mississippi Air National Guard, and you still maintain a second home in Mississippi that you have valued worth more than $1 million. What is your message to voters who hear that and may question if you truly understand the cares and concerns of the people here in South Carolina? You have 90 seconds.
So when I served in the military, when I deployed, we rainbowed our crews. That means nobody cares where you serve. I grew up in rural Mississippi. I love Mississippi, but I moved and made my home in South Carolina in 2017. And although I was born in Mississippi, I definitely plan to die in South Carolina. I love it here. I contribute to my community. I serve in various capacities, not only in my church, but in nonprofit organizations. South Carolina is my home. I have covered 11 counties during this campaign, talking to voters one-on-one, and I am fortunate. I have worked hard, 2 and 3 jobs almost my whole life to get where I am today. The second home is my son. My son lives in that home, just to address your question though. But my loyalty is to District 3, and I will represent this district, and I will be a servant leader for them in Washington.
Again, Sherry Biggs, candidate for Congressional District 3. In Pastor Mark Burns' opening question, he was asked about previously overstating certain things on his previous bio. Here's that question and his response.
Mr. Burns, in the past, you have had to apologize about details of your biography that you say you overstated. This was concerning your college education, that you attended North Greenville University but did not graduate, and your service in the National Guard, not the Army Reserves. Why did you lie then, and what lessons have you learned from that situation?
Well, first of all, I'm very happy that you stated that I actually did serve in the South Carolina National Guard. I am always, my entire life, born in the upstate of South Carolina. My loyalties only lie with the greatest state in the Union, that is the greatest state in America, South Carolina. Listen, the reality of it is this. That CNN hit piece was just that, CNN. I served my nation, I've served my state, and I'm happy you made note of that. I am not a transplant from Mississippi. I am born and bred from Belton, Anderson County. This is my home. This is who I'm going to fight for. There's no question where my loyalty lies. But the reality of it is this. Listen, you're talking about something that happened 20 odd years ago that has already been addressed. But let's talk about something that's happened 23 days ago when Sherry Biggs' campaign received Michael Bloomberg's money, right? You're talking about anti-Second Amendment, gun-grabbing Michael Bloomberg. This is what's happening right here. You should be appalled, 3rd Congressional District citizens, because Democrats are trying to spend money in our elections, in our deep red congressional seat, trying to buy a Democrat in disguise, using Democrat money, using anti-Second Amendment, using, and even the Russia collusion dossier. The same people, the Never Trumpers that funded the Russian collusion dossier, is funding these attack ads coming from Sherry Biggs. I am from South Carolina, and I love my home for eternity.
Now, this is where it got a bit heated at times. As you heard, Mr. Burns took this opportunity to go after Sherry Biggs and the alleged campaign contributions from a Bloomberg campaign fund. In her rebuttal, Ms. Biggs acknowledged there were outside interests spending money in the race, saying her 2 dogs are named Remy and Sig.
Mr. Burns, thank you. Ms. Biggs, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Exactly. So I don't know who Bloomberg is. There are a lot of outside interest in this campaign, but I can tell you for me, I am definitely pro Second Amendment. I am a lifetime member of the NRA. I have an A rating with the Gun Owners of America, and my dogs' names are Remy and Sig. I'm in the military. I train. I know how to carry a firearm. I keep one on me. In fact, my husband made sure that I took it out of my purse before I came in here today. So I am definitely pro Second Amendment, and that is ludicrous what you just said, and I love South Carolina.
And again, this is just the beginning. This a sample of the debate. You can watch the full debate at the Fox Carolina YouTube page. And if you live in the 3rd Congressional District, let me just encourage you to educate yourself on the candidates. There are 2 distinctly different types of candidates. And again, that primary is next Tuesday, June 25th. Polls will open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. You can start early voting today. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. The White House press briefing was interrupted briefly yesterday due to a medical emergency, as it appears a reporter passed out due to the extreme heat experienced in the nation's capital. I'll get to that in just a moment. First, on our text line, Susan writes, structural disadvantage is being unable to form a complete sentence. If Adams and Hochul want to reduce crime, they need to refund the police and do away with not locking repeat criminals up. Jeff writes, our problem is not in South Carolina. We do our part as far as voting for President Trump. It's the other states that we have to worry about. We need everybody to volunteer to help count the votes, spy on him, everything we can do. You're right, Jeff. We do have to make sure that election integrity is a big part, but I believe that we're doing that. I believe that a lot of states, due to Republican pressure, have put into place things that are going to make it a little bit harder for Joe Biden and his Democrat cronies to cheat. And look, we just need to win so big that there's no question anyway. Just show up en masse to vote for President Donald Trump so that there's no way that they can cheat. Ray writes on the text line, welcome to another great day the Lord has made. Amen, brother. I see the so-called Dr. Fauci is back in the news as the highest paid federal employee. The question is, who promoted him and authorized the $400,000 salary? Just asking. Maybe there should be some accountability. Have a wonderful time today. You know, it is pretty amazing the career that Anthony Fauci had. And Ray's right. He, at the time of his retirement, he was the highest paid federal employee salary-wise. That did not even take into consideration some of the outside deals that he had, writing books and some of the other research that he was able to do. That guy's a crook. That guy fleeced America and was smiling the whole time as he walked out and into the sunset. And what Ray's talking about, we talked about this earlier. He's now promoting his book that he's out trying to peddle. You gonna buy a copy? I'd love to hear from a single person listening to my voice today. You can text me, you can email me, joeyhudson.com, if you're going to buy a copy of Anthony Fauci's book. I wouldn't even go to the library to check out the free copy. Texter, hey, Joey, it's Jennifer. Good to hear from you, Jennifer. Yes, we will write no tax on tips, vote Trump on our receipts in restaurants and in other places where service workers receive tips. Fabulous idea. It is a great idea. And we need to start that movement here in the Carolinas and Northeast Georgia and all around the country. Is write on your receipt, give them a nice tip, but write on there, no tax, vote Trump. Let's see what kind of results we get. Faye writes, Joey, I watch a program at night and the guys say how close we are to communism. There are lots of folks who still cling to the Democrat Party and add that to the illegals voting and capitalism may not stand a chance. We're really in serious times. Biden has just got to go for our country to have a future. Faye, I think he is. I think Joe Biden, Obama, Biden, I think he's out of here. And I think he knows it too. I think he sees the handwriting on the wall. Quick reminder, hope you'll plan to join us. If you live in the Carolinas, Northeast Georgia, in my hometown area, hope you'll plan to join News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas, for our 4th District Republican Club, and Young Greenville is our partners for our Presidential Debate Watch Party. It's at Willie Taco on Lawrence Road in Greenville. It's going to start at 8 o'clock next Thursday. Well, not tomorrow, but Thursday of next week, June 27th. Come join the WORD team. There'll be many of us out there. I'm assuming Tara and Charlie and Bill Frady, just the whole team. Yours truly will be there. The debate, we're going to have it up on the big screens in the outside area and throughout the inside, as well as just a fun evening of watching the debate. Be lots of food. There'll be a cash bar available, prizes. So come join us. Come join the team at News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas, next Thursday for our Presidential Debate Watch Party. So a few moments yesterday in the White House briefing room, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stopped a reporter in the middle of his question and rushed down from the podium to assist a person declared, "We have an emergency." Hold on. Did somebody pass out? Jean-Pierre asked as White House medical staff attended to the individual who appeared to have passed out due to the heat. After a few minutes, Jean-Pierre returned to the podium as the person in need received medical attention. White House press secretary, she said, sorry about that. Hopefully she's okay. A reporter then made a comment about the heat, to which she replied, "You are correct. It is hot in here." Can they not afford air conditioning in the White House pool room there? Surely they can get that cooled off to where reporters aren't passing out. Or is this part of their Green New Deal or New Green Deal or whatever it's called? Or are they keeping the air conditioning down? Maybe they keep it hot in the room so that they don't ask questions, so that they want to get out of there. Before resuming questions, Jean-Pierre asked the gathered White House correspondents if anyone needed water. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the individual's condition from Fox News. Temperatures in the Washington, D.C. area hit 92 degrees yesterday. It felt closer to 98 with the humidity, according to local weather reports. The sweltering temperatures are part of this heat wave that we're seeing, impacting tens of millions of people in the Midwest and Northeast this week. It's going to be a hot one here in the Carolinas over the weekend as well. We have this massive high-pressure system that's moved in over the East Coast that's sending temperatures in the nation's capital, New York City, Boston, that whole Northeast quarter into some very high heat areas. By the weekend, it's possible that some of these areas will have a heat advisory predicted to reach 100 degrees. More than 76 million people already included in heat alerts that stretch from Iowa in the Midwest to the Great Lakes region and Ohio Valley in the Northeast and New England. So it's going to be hot. That's all I can tell you. It's going to get very hot. But again, I get back to this White House press room thing. Now you know the press room used to be the swimming pool. When JFK, that's the pool that JFK was supposedly prone to skinny dip in. Richard Nixon used it as well. I'm not sure who actually had it covered. Somewhere along the way, maybe it was Gerald Ford or maybe even maybe Ronald Reagan. I'm not sure. That's a good question that we need to. Maybe you know the answer. Text it to me, if you will, or email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. I'll do a little research too. But it used to be the swimming pool, the White House swimming pool. They just covered it over, so it's a long, narrow room, and it is packed. There's never enough room in there for all the press. So I can see how if it's very hot and for whatever reason they don't have an air conditioning system that keeps it adequately cool, I can see how it would get very hot in there. But it's just crazy, isn't it, that the White House can't keep the White House press room cool enough so that you don't have reporters passing out? I mean, that's just crazy to me. Unless, again, it's by design. Surely they wouldn't do that, though, would they? They wouldn't keep it hot to try to make people uncomfortable so they would ask fewer questions. You think? We'll see. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and we're going to win in the June primaries, and if we're going to win in November especially, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.